I would like to take the beginning portion of this podcast to mention the tragedy at the University of Virginia. If you didn't hear, there was a shooting on the Virginia campus that involved the deaths of 3 UVA football players and the injuries of 2 other students. Authorities believe they have caught the perpetrator, but we will not be calling any attention to them and hope and expect that they will be given the justice they deserve. The 3 students that died were Devin Chandler, Lavelle Davis Jr., and Deshaun Perry. To their families and anyone that was affected by this horrible tragedy, we want to offer our deepest condolences. This is something that nobody should have to go through, and we cannot express how sorry we are. Furthermore, I was unable to identify or find the identity of the 2 other students that were injured, but to their families, I want to offer our thoughts and prayers, and we wish for the quickest and healthiest of recoveries. Ryan, Robbie, if you will, you two take a moment of silence with me to honor and commemorate the memories of Devin Chandler, Lavelle Davis Jr., and Deshaun Perry. Thank you, guys. First podcast topic of the day, obviously coming up is the the World Cup, Soccer World Cup, or football as it's known across most of the world. And obviously the group stage is coming up. Obviously the group stage is coming up in this next week. Football. And there's a lot of matchups, but I think I'll just read them down quickly, and then we can just go from there, see what our overall thoughts are on this, because obviously this is a massive event. And so I'll read down some of the matchups. Tell me if you hear anything interesting. So Sunday, November 20th is the first game. I literally never know how people fully pronounce this. Is it like Qatar? Like, is that how most people say it? I've heard Qatar. Yeah.
Qatar. I honestly have no idea. I always say Qatar.
Yeah. All right. We got Qatar versus
Qatar for continuity's sake.
Yeah. Qatar versus Ecuador, 11 a.m. Sunday. We have on Monday, we have England versus Iran, Senegal versus the Netherlands, and United States versus Wales.
I cannot wait to be irrationally angry.
2 p.m. on Monday, so make sure you
I haven't watched an international game for like 2 years, and I'm going to be screaming at my television.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You haven't been watching the Nations Cup and the Gold Cup, both of which we won in the last year and a half?
We're fucking ass. We're somehow not going to get out of this group.
We literally won the last 2 major tournaments the CONCACAF had. So
we're seriously not going to get out of this group.
Oh, 100%.
Also, I want to put money on Costa Rica because they're long odds to win. But anyways, continue.
So I mean, $5 on it. There's no harm in it, and if they win, you get money. I mean, Tuesday we have
also.
Go ahead.
Costa Rica is the 4th best team in our region. So no,
that's correct. And they're also in the group of Spain, somebody Brazil. I think it's like a fucking
Spain
death group.
And Germany or somebody like that. It's something ridiculous.
It's a death group.
I think it's France. The 2 last World Cup winners are in the same group. I think.
Yeah, that's correct.
France and Germany. I think they're in the same group.
It's fucking hysterical. Costa Rica's gonna get run through.
Just like all your exes. All right, moving on. Number Tuesday.
Spain, Germany, Japan, Costa Rica, by the way.
Hey, yo, that was so much friendly fire.
Yeah, I'm not too thrilled about that one.
You didn't like that one. On Tuesday, we have Argentina versus Saudi Arabia. We have Denmark versus Tunisia. Mexico versus Poland, France versus Australia. Wednesday, we have Morocco versus Croatia, Germany versus Japan, Spain versus Costa Rica, and Belgium versus Canada. And then Thursday, Switzerland versus Cameroon, Uruguay versus South Korea, Portugal versus Ghana, Brazil versus Serbia. Friday is Wales versus Iran, Qatar versus Senegal, Netherlands versus Ecuador, England versus United States. Big 1776 rematch, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, I'm just saying we're 1-0 right now, so I think
we own those beans for breakfast looking ass fuckers.
We own
imagine fighting in a war and thinking you should wear red. What a stupid ass idea. Imagine being in 1776. You're like, we should wear in the middle of this wide ass open field so everyone can see us is fucking red. What a bunch of idiots. We're gonna clap those cheeks. Easy. Following right now.
Ian Crumpets looking ass.
Yeah, whoa.
Easy light work.
Saturday with Tunisia versus Australia, Poland versus Saudi Arabia, France versus Denmark, Argentina versus Mexico, and then Sunday, Japan versus Costa Rica, Belgium versus Morocco, Croatia versus Canada, Spain versus Germany. Holy crap. Okay, Monday.
You don't have to do all.
No, you know what you're reading every stage game right now. There's no chance.
Yeah, I'm dedicated now. Now I'm too far in. It's
Well,
just stop.
Here
So
we are.
Monday is Cameroon versus Serbia, South Korea versus Ghana, Brazil versus Switzerland, Portugal versus Uruguay. Tuesday, Netherlands, Qatar, Ecuador, Senegal, Wales, England, Iran, United States. Wednesday, Tunisia, France, Australia versus Denmark, Poland versus Argentina, Saudi Arabia versus Mexico. Thursday, Croatia versus Belgium, Canada versus Morocco, Japan versus Spain, Costa Rica versus Germany. And then the last one, Friday, South Korea versus Portugal, Ghana versus Uruguay, Cameroon versus Brazil, and Serbia versus Switzerland will round off the first round.
Portugal will be a good one.
And they will head into the round of 16.
Anyone have any surprise teams that they think are gonna make it out of the group stage? There's always
the
someone.
U.S.
That's not surprised. We're favored to make it out. However, I understand having no faith in the United States soccer team. Also, we have a couple guys that are like injured that like might be back, and like it'll be interesting.
What are Senegal's odds? I like a Senegal.
I don't know, as good as some of the human right violation odds that Qatar had trying to build these fucking stadiums. Like 15,000 people died, but we're just not.
They also spent like 4 times any other country has ever spent to host a World Cup. They spent some absurd amount of money to host the World Cup, even more than like Russia or Brazil did like a couple years ago. So
yeah.
But FIFA got that paycheck, and that's all they really care about.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Do you guys see the video of the comedian that got arrested for crashing one of the FIFA conventions and throwing money at the commissioner of FIFA and saying thank you for voting for North Korea's bid for 2026? He just like threw money at him, and he like turned to the camera and started talking about how this joint venture between FIFA and North Korea. It was. In both best interest for both organizations, had nothing to do with financial gain. Like threw money at them.
Did you guys see that the Qatar government said that they will arrest people if you have sex outside of marriage, because that's not.
Also, like any examples of homosexuality.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. So. There's going to be a lot of stuff that comes out of this, and people do not, especially United States people that are going to Qatar. They're going to have to be fucking careful. Like it is a completely different world and country with different customs and rules. Like people are going to be typical Americans and act like we're the only people that matter, and go over there and get themselves in a fuck ton of trouble.
Okay, let's not act like European soccer fans aren't going to do the same thing.
Oh, I know.
I know we're annoying Americans, but Europeans, yeah, it's fair. European soccer fans also just do whatever they want. So
yeah,
I don't think this would be a very fun World Cup to visit. So I think
I have no interest, even if I have the financial ability to go to this one. I think the next one's in the U.S., right? 2026.
U.S., Mexico, and Canada.
Yeah, I will be spending probably a lot of money to go to some of those games.
Yeah, I hope that I'm still in Atlanta because they're hosting it in Atlanta. Like, I don't even care who's playing. I would just go. Like I wouldn't even.
I think we read the stadiums that they'd be played at a few podcasts ago.
You're playing in like Kansas City, like some
there's a ton.
Like random ones in there. So
like 95% of Americans should be like 2 or 3 hours from a stadium where a game is being played at. And I would recommend like these are, events that you should go to if you're a sporting fan, like an international sporting fan. If you could afford to, it's kind of like the Olympics, right? Like if you're close, you should go. Like it's just something you want to see. So.
100%. Very nice. So yeah, as we said, the World Cup will start next week, and all of us will be parked on our couches watching excitedly U.S. versus Wales. Moving on
in red zone right there. Just
no, it's not on Sunday.
Oh no, shit.
It's on Monday.
Monday, like 1 p.m.
Our game is Sunday. That's right.
Yeah.
What time is the England game? Is that like prime time? That'd be kind of hype on a Friday.
The U.S. England game.
Yeah.
That
one
Friday before Iron Bowl.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's 2 p.m. It's going to be 1 p.m. Central.
Black Friday at 2
p.m. I will not be on a plane. That's awesome.
And we're going to clap the Brits' cheeks. But yeah, that's all we can say about the soccer or the football at the moment. You know what? Let's just roll on with that. Let's just go into the Premier League standings. Usually we leave it to the end, but I think that makes sense to go from, the one soccer to the next soccer kind of thing. So currently,
I can't wait for us to have absolutely no insight into this as per usual.
That's correct.
We're ready.
We got to go down the list. I mean, it's a tradition at this point. Arsenal still sits atop the league. They are having an incredible season. 12-1-1 with a goal differential
21
of
Savage will
22.
be happy.
Yeah,
Did you see in the most recent album, he's talking about the Gunners, he wants to see the Gunners win the Premier League, and maybe this will be his year,
maybe it will.
Had a very successful album, and he might be able to see his team win the Premier League. So
very true. And then Man City still sits at number 2 with a 10-2-2 record. Newcastle is at an 8-6-1. So there's a pretty drastic drop off from like 1 to 3. It's 4 wins, which is pretty big in terms of a season that's what 30 something games. I mean that's pretty big at this point in the year.
Yeah,
Are we about halfway through?
Yeah, it's about halfway. And then Newcastle sits at third, 8-6-1, and then Tottenham at 9-4, and then Man United sits right outside at 8-4. Robbie, your Brentford Bees are still in that 10 spot, 4-7-4. So they're doing all right. They're not too bad, not too good. Literally like an even. They're 4-7-4, 4 wins, 7 draws, 4. They just tie with everybody, I guess. I don't know. And then the relegation zone is I haven't seen these teams move since like the beginning of the year. It looks like it might be solidifying, but Everton is barely just above these teams, but Nottingham Forest at 18, Southampton at 19, and Wolves at 20. Yeah, they better start winning some games or they're going to be relegated.
Can I do a live update on the pod right now on something completely unrelated?
CFP rankings?
The CFP rankings have just dropped. You guys ready?
Of course.
Boy, live reaction.
And number 1, absolutely no surprise, the Georgia Bulldogs. Number 2, we have the Ohio State Buckeyes. Number 3, the Michigan Wolverines, setting up for the big game, 2 versus 3 here in just a few weeks.
Man, Fox be bricked up for that noon kick.
Oh, big noon kickoff. Let's go.
Big noon kick.
The TCU Horned Frogs are at number 4. The Tennessee Volunteers at number 5. The LSU Tigers have moved all the way up to number 6. The USC Trojans at number 7, and the Alabama Crimson Tide at number 8.
Where did Oklahoma State fall in that, Rob?
25.
I don't care. No,
believe.
Don't care. Didn't ask. Plus.
And WHO Omega.
They're at number 22, Connor. They're right above the Oregon State Beavers, 2 OSU teams back to back. There, that's kind of fun. Funny.
I cannot.
Yes, sir. I mean, orange and black OSU.
We had a 6-point win, and they put it against Iowa State at home, and they still put us. Oh man!
So we got, for those who keep track at home, that's 4 SEC teams in the top 8. So if you thought there was any way the committee was not going to do SEC teams this year, you're probably wrong.
Yeah. You're wrong.
Yeah,
they will find a way. They will find a way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You guys better hope for if you're a non-SEC fan, you better hope that TCU wins out because there is an uncomfortably reasonable chance that if LSU beats Georgia in the SEC championship game, you could see and TCU loses, you could see the winner of Ohio State, Michigan, Tennessee, LSU, Georgia.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That is feasible at this point.
Yeah. So let's say we get to the end and let's say Georgia beats LSU. Well, Ohio State beats Michigan and wins the Big 12 or Big 10. I feel like that's the most likely outcome.
Yeah.
And then TCU goes undefeated. So those 3 teams in my mind would be locked in for sure, right? So what do you do with a 1-loss Tennessee, a 1-loss USC that wins the Pac-12? And keep in mind, for USC to have 1 loss, the next 3 weeks they would have to beat UCLA, Notre Dame, and Oregon. That's 3 top 25 wins in 3 straight weeks. Do you put in Tennessee or USC?
And that's the reason USC hasn't gotten much headlines because they haven't played the meat of their schedule yet. And most people are expecting them to lose one of those games.
I would be shocked for them to win all 3. But UCLA didn't look great last week. They lost to Arizona a week ago. So, I mean, obviously they'll be fired up, but didn't look great, against one of the worst teams in the Pac-12.
And if TCU loses one of those games before the Big 12 championship because they're automatically in the Big 12 championship, you still have to have them in the conversation as well. Even though it's a later season loss, so people are going to be like, yeah, they're fucking, they lost it. But
yeah, I think TCU has to win out. As unfair as that is, I don't think there's any way they get in if they don't win out.
Agreed. But to round off the soccer stuff real quick, and then we can go back to college football because I had no headlines, but we can just go straight into that. But actually, I saw this earlier on ESPN. Apparently, currently Cristiano Ronaldo plays for Man United, and apparently the manager has asked the owner to not let him play anymore because he's so tired of his attitude, and he's apparently a locker room cancer. And one of the arguably the greatest player of all time having this kind of effect on a team is just like I don't know if I've heard of something like this before, where the manager is at a point where he's like, I get him off the team.
I don't think Ronaldo's really been liked by any teammates anywhere he's been, because I think he is really arrogant, and obviously, like, he's really good and can back it up, so I think they ignore it, but, like, I don't know, I've never gotten the sense watching Ronaldo that anyone particularly liked him.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I mean, it's just interesting. Obviously, he's not at. I think he still kind of acts like he's at his peak when being 38. It's almost impossible to be at your peak unless you're LeBron James.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible to be at your peak. But so that's kind of an interesting transgression that we will keep you updated on. But yeah, we can just go right back into college football as we just announced the CFP rankings just dropped. We're recording this on Tuesday, November 15th. So that just dropped. And so, yeah, we can go through.
Sorry, another team I'm going to drop into our scenario here. So we have one loss Tennessee, one loss USC, and don't forget Clemson still only has one loss.
Yep.
Clemson.
Lost to Notre Dame in relatively embarrassing fashion.
And what I was going to say is I think you'd have to put USC in over Clemson because they would have beat Notre Dame.
Yeah, they currently have that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think if USC wins out, they get in over Clemson. But then I don't know what you do with USC, Tennessee. I think you should put USC in, but
that'd be interesting.
It goes to the whole thing about the 14 playoffs. Excuse me. How much do they hold a conference championship in that scope of work?
Yeah.
Right. Tennessee has looked the most impressive, as I think we can all agree, out of all those teams, has some of the biggest wins.
Yeah, they're going to have 2 top 10 wins in the season.
Right. So it is. And as we see with how the rankings are being held right now, they rank Tennessee the highest out of all these teams. Obviously, USC is right on that door with more impressive games to come, too. So I really think it's going to come down to USC Tennessee if TCU does lose. I think there would be absolute hellfire if TCU wins out and the committee holds them out. I don't
100%.
think that's possible.
Yeah, no way.
That's like suicide by them, and like people would just stay like get rid of it. Go back to the BCS at this point if that's what we're gonna do. So
yeah,
but we got a fun next couple weeks, and then Championship Sunday. It'll all come down to Championship Sunday.
And
so
we do this exercise every year. Like, well, what if all these things happen? They have to choose between these 4 teams, and it always works itself out to like where I think there's probably been a couple years where there's a debate, but usually what the 4 teams are going to be going into selection.
Yeah, I distinctly remember one year I think Penn State got held out at 5.
Or is also the TCU Baylor year where the Big 12 didn't have a championship? Yeah, and they went they were 5 and 6, I think, and neither of them got it. I think that was the very first year.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess at this point, I think we're all happy that they're expanding to 12 teams as opposed to 4, because obviously 4 creates a lot of issues in 12 teams, which will still continue. There'll still be teams that are on 13 and 14, like, oh, how did we not get in or whatever. But it'll be less complaining, I feel like, because the teams that feel like they should make it will make it.
But it also sets up if you win your conference, you're in with 12 teams, which is really how it should be. If you win your conference, you really should have a chance to play.
Yeah, I agree.
So I don't think there'll be as much complaining because you had the chance, right? Like if TCU wins out, goes undefeated, and they don't make the playoff, then they started the season with no chance to make the playoff. But that won't be the case under the 12 system. Is start of the season, everyone has a chance to make the playoff, and that'll be the difference.
So yeah. So I'm going to run down the week real quick, some of the most interesting matchups. This was a week with not a lot of ranked matchups, but there were a few that were interesting to point out. One that was a low scoring affair. LSU barely sneaks past Arkansas at Arkansas 13-10. But as Robbie said, they did retain their top 10 spot at number 6. Was this a surprise to you? I mean, I think Arkansas honestly has disappointed this season, but I don't think they're I never thought they were a terrible team.
And Arkansas didn't have their quarterback.
No,
KJ Jefferson was out.
If Arkansas has their quarterback at home, Arkansas probably wins this game.
Yeah.
LSU's offense looked completely different from the offense that we saw against us. And that might be just because we're ass. Also that we get everyone's best game. But LSU's defense 100% won them that game. And it's not even close.
And the backup quarterback for Arkansas was abysmal. They brought in the 3rd string guy, and he looked a lot better. Yeah. But the backup was just not good.
It was a rough offensive day for that game.
Yeah. So Ryan and I saw the end of the first half and then watched most of the second half, and it was a tough game to watch.
Interesting. So yeah, moving on from that, Notre Dame barely squeaks past Navy with a 35-32 victory. We have Purdue, the spoiler makers, not even at home, away, beating Illinois 31-24. I mean, Purdue's gonna get you, man. Purdue is just
drop them for the rankings.
Big Ten West is a mess right now.
it's
Iowa
so
still
bad.
might make the Big Ten championship game, by the way.
The Big Ten
As much
West
as
has
we-
been a mess since week 4.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But like it looked like for a little bit there, Illinois was gonna be able to like pull away and win it, but
Yeah.
they've lost their last 2 weeks now, I think. So
Yeah.
God, I loves chaos. Just for all of our fans listening, if we want to give a quick rundown of the current standings in the Big Ten
Please,
West, we have Purdue, Illinois, Iowa, Minnesota, all sitting at 4 and 3.
correct.
With Nebraska at 3 and 4. Nebraska still has a shot to win the Big Ten West, depending on tiebreakers and if Nebraska plays any of these guys head on. I don't know, but
Dude,
yeah,
if
it's kinda wild.
Nebraska makes the Big Ten championship after Scott Frost
You get
left,
You get the
Or he got
absolute
fired.
honor of getting the brakes beat off you by Michigan or Ohio State.
you made the championship.
absolute pleasure that's gonna be. Yeah, I guess.
Iowa's won 3 straight. They're sitting at 6 and 4, 4 and 3 in conference. You know, man, would I love to see Iowa lose by 50 in a Big Ten championship game?
Man, I would love to see how many points Iowa's defense can score in the Big Ten
yeah.
championship game because Lord knows.
Yeah, it's not gonna be the
offense
offense. But yeah, moving on from that. Hey Ryan, how are your Wildcats doing? How are your Kentucky Wildcats doing?
Bit of a free fall, I think is the nicest way to put it. At this
Vanderbilt.
point.
They lost to
Vanderbilt conference in 2019.
And what's wild is they're still the they're the third best team in the SEC East. Florida's 3 and 4 in conference, so are the Gamecocks. Mizzou is 2 and 5, and Mizzou seems to only give good teams a run for their money. And Vandy sitting at that beautiful 1 and 5 in conference.
Anchors
Good for
down,
them.
baby.
Awesome.
Anchors down.
Good for them.
Robbie, have you seen Vandy's Twitter account?
No.
It is so funny. Who were they? They were chirping at last year.
Tennessee fans.
Oh, it was so funny. They were like times that Tennessee has lost to Alabama. It was like 100. Like Vanderbilt was like 3. It was so funny.
Can we just discuss this dream that I have in the last week of this college football season that Vanderbilt knocks off the Tennessee Volunteers? Could you imagine how impactful that would be? Could you imagine the meltdown in Knoxville if they lost to Vanderbilt in the last game of this year? It'd be incredible.
That would be insane.
I would not be able to take my eyes away from it.
Oh no!
I would that right there would make the entire and this is some petty shit that usually people that hate Alabama say, but that would make my season. I don't care that we don't make the
100%.
CFP. Don't care. Just seeing that agony after that scene after they beat us in Neyland, I would
that would give us a chance to make the CFP. As crazy as that sounds.
No, there's
Yes.
don't give. There's no reason we should have a pipe dream. We've lost 2 games.
I'm just telling you because if that knocks Tennessee out, LSU's probably gonna lose to Georgia. I think that knocks them back behind us again. If USC loses, if TCU maybe loses a game, then all of a sudden you're looking at Alabama number 5 in the CFP.
I know that the CFP loves us, but
are we putting Alabama above a 1-loss Big 12 champion?
Yes.
I don't know this season. I don't know this season.
Keep in mind that Alabama's 2 losses would be to top 10 teams by combined 4 points.
To be fair, the Big 12 has not been great this year.
No, they've cannibalized themselves.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I'm not gonna cap.
I'm not saying whether that's right or wrong, but I'm telling you the committee would absolutely.
I see what you're saying. But yeah, moving on from that. Speaking of Alabama pulling it out against former offensive coordinator Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. A little bit of a nail biter, 30-24.
Another struggle win. Alabama could be fucking 5-5 this year. If things go terribly, we could be 5-5.
I was talking with mom and dad, and I was like, "What if Alabama loses again, and then somehow Oklahoma State and Alabama play each other in a bowl game?"
You guys would have to go. You guys,
Oh
you'd
yeah,
have to
yeah,
drop and go to wherever it is.
yeah, 100%. Well, I have to go
Um,
anyways because I'm in
did
the
you?
band. But yeah, they would have to.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
very good
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. What were you saying, Rob? What did y'all think of this game? I mean, obviously this was a uncomfortably close.
We were down majority of it.
Mhm.
I was worried after the LSU game that we would not have the resiliency, but we were down until the third quarter, I think, or maybe
Yeah.
even the early fourth. So it was good to see us fight a little bit, even though we most likely have nothing to play for in our minds, and nothing to play for is not making the CFP. Obviously, like a berth to the fucking Sugar Bowl is still potentially on the line. So
Yeah.
I'm glad we came back against a good opponent. You know, Lane obviously wants that win against Nick. Like
All the coaches do.
In Oxford too, another really tough away game. We've had a lot of those this year. Just it was good to get this one.
Yeah.
Good to get this
Did you
one,
guys
for
see?
sure.
So you remember last year when Kiffin was like, "Get the popcorn ready," and then like we blew the brakes off them in Tuscaloosa.
Yes.
Did you see that like at the beginning of the game, they did like one of those like little cutscene things where it was like him throwing popcorn at the camera, which I thought was kind of a funny like
That is kind
callback
of
to last year.
that is kind of funny.
Say what you will about Kiffin, but pretty good sport when it comes to
You
that type of
mean
thing.
the next coach of Alabama?
Oh, there's a take.
Imagine saying you wouldn't be upset about Lane Kiffin being our next coach like 5 years ago.
Yeah, y'all hated him, dude. I remember the bubble
He
screen
is
slander
the
was
shi-
crazy.
He is the shining star of the Saban coach rehabilitation program.
Yeah, because Sark has been
Rehabilitation.
lacking lately.
Mostly it's because of his like maturity. He's grown up just a lot, and he does like the shit that Robbie was talking about with the popcorn and stuff. But a lot of that's in much more good natured fun.
Yes.
And is much better received now. Like he's not just
He
coming
knows how
out and being an asshole about it now.
He'll still be like a troll occasionally, and, like say things, but like it's like he's a good sport about it. And like I don't think he's doing it just to be like an asshole anymore, which is what he did a while ago.
Ole Miss
back in the
fans
day,
love
so.
him. Ole Miss would
He
really
fits their
doesn't want him
culture
to
really
go.
well. He fits their culture really well for like what Ole Miss needs in a coach.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, moving on from that, we have another team that's been up and down in the rankings. NC State losing to Boston College by 1 point, and I'm sure they
bad. that was an 18-point favorite loss right there.
That's 3-7 Boston College, by the way, or going 2-7 going into it.
Boston College's first win against a ranked opponent since 2014. Then they beat the USC Trojans in Chestnut Hill. I was there, actually. Fun fact. But yeah, good for BC, I guess.
Huge fact. Robbie with the facts, yeah. Continuing on, a little bit of a heartbreaker, I won't lie, even though it's good for the Big 12 because they're coming in. But UCF taken down at Tulane, 38-31. I think a lot of people across the country were rooting for Tulane to just keep going and keep winning, but they ran into the brick wall that is UCF.
Matchup for AAC. You love seeing ranked matchups in the group of 5.
And not even Cincinnati involved. It was 2 other teams.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Very much so. Very cool to see. And then probably, is this the biggest? I'm trying to say, is this the big? Yeah, I think this is, other than UCLA maybe, but one of the biggest upsets of the week. Washington beating Oregon 37-34 at Oregon. Bo Nix was not enough to pull this one out, even though he has honestly been, Heisman level. I think that's not a hot take at all at this point. But yeah, Washington just pulls it out. They improve to an 8-2, and obviously Oregon most likely or probably doesn't have any chance at the CFP at this point. But yeah.
No.
In Eugene,
in the words of Robert Griffin III, a big Penix energy from the Huskies. Really, the Penix played really well and did enough at the end of the game to pull that one out. So shout out RG. Best broadcaster on ESPN, by the way. I don't think it's the best college they have. I swear, he's actually like entertaining to listen.
He's gotten a lot better. He was a little rough when he started out, but he's gotten a lot more of his personality to come through.
Yeah, and you can tell like he doesn't take it like as seriously as a lot of other guys do, which I think is a breath of fresh air. That he'll still make jokes like that on live television, which
kind of like Pat McAfee.
Yeah,
and
I think he's been a great
for the
NFL. Yep.
Mm-hmm. What would you think of? Obviously, he does pro and he does college, but what would you think of a Tony Romo RG3 commentary booth?
Probably not the best, just because like
You need a
Romo
play-by-play guy.
Yeah, Romo hasn't done the play-by-play yet, and I
Oh,
would
you
much
right.
rather have Romo as the color than the play-by-play.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I don't think RG3. I mean, I think RG3 could do it, but the reason we like those guys so much is because their ability to do the color,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Like and kind of throw in their little.
I'd be interested to
you know,
hear Romo in a
semantics.
play-by-play. I don't think he'd be bad at it at all.
I don't think he'd be bad. It's just I think he's better at color.
Yeah, but I also think too, like, sometimes they do where they have like two color guys, and I feel like it always feels too crowded. Like, I'd much rather have the play-by-play guy and the color guy.
Yep.
See, you
I
say
think
that,
I think
but
that's all.
you say that, but then Reggie Miller and Richard Jefferson was one of the best duos in the entire playoffs because it was just funny, like from start to finish. But I can see how that
While we're
could get
talking about
tired.
talking about NFL color guys, the worst by far right now
Oh god,
is Jonathan Vilma. Jonathan Vilma is atrocious, and every time he always gets the Panthers game every single time,
that's
and
why he
every
does.
time he just shits on the Panthers the entire game.
Well,
I'm
they
like,
should
dude,
be
we get
shit
it.
on.
Are we like, come on now?
But it's just because he's a Saints homer and he's not afraid to show it. And I don't like it, and he's stupid and he makes terrible comments.
And he's stupid. I
he's
hate him. I hate him so much.
While we're at it.
Yeah, honestly.
Who's
Robbie's got
your
heat
guys'
with
least favorite color guy?
I honestly
Just let me
don't know enough. I mean, who does Gabe hate? Oh god, what's his name? He's one of the main ones.
I mean, Gary
Run him
Danielson
down.
can go like run over rocks. Like
I feel like a lot of people really don't like Troy Aikman too.
no,
Like him and Buck. I feel like a lot of people don't like him and
I
Buck.
hate Aikman. Buck's
Don't mind
fine.
Aikman. Oh, Joe Buck. That Gabe hates Joe Buck. He
Buck
hates
is fine.
Joe Buck.
I have no issue with Buck. He does a lot of different sports, and he's very mid at all of them. But like, I don't hate him.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't give you a name for typically unless they're like really really bad. Color guys usually don't throw me off too much, but
I saw PTSD from the Joe Buck call of the "We'll see you in Game 7 in St. Louis" or whatever after the David Freese walk off in Game 6 with the Cardinals versus the Rangers. Yeah, I still have nightmares, pain and suffering.
Shout out Nelson Cruz.
Stuff.
Shout out Nelson Cruz. But yeah, continuing on with college football to finish off the week. TCU beating Texas 17-10. This was a slug. It was 3-0 at halftime. This was a defensive slugfest.
TCU doesn't want to win a game by more than 10 points. They refuse to.
But they also can win games in like a variety of ways. Like
Yes,
they've won like a shootout now, and they now all of a sudden they've won this defensive struggle. Like I think it says a lot about how well coached TCU is.
They're one of the most adaptive teams that I've seen in a while. It's very impressive. I mean, and because usually TCU's D line is good, but it was nothing that anyone ever pointed out. But this game was all about how good both teams D lines were performing, and so it's just TCU adjust to whatever they need to adjust to, and they really are a second half adjustment team. It's pretty incredible.
I think
so is
TCU
Quinn Ewers a fraud?
I don't think he's a fraud. He's just
I think
first
Texas
season.
just blows.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong.
I think TCU is a perfect example of a team that is good enough and has been lucky enough to find themselves in an undefeated position, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it takes both, especially when you're not a team that has the talent like an Alabama or Georgia to just like steamroll your opponents.
Yeah.
It just, things have to come together, and it seemed to have done that this year for TCU. If you go back and look at some of the preseason odds for TCU to just say win the Big 12 or be in a Big 12 championship game, they're astronomical.
Yeah.
And they're undefeated.
So
They
have a.
I had to take, and I'll fully put my hands up. I had to take before the season started. I said TCU was going to be the worst team in the Big 12. I remember saying,
I'm gonna need that played before.
Clip that.
Yeah. You also like would not have been alone in that sentiment.
Though. Oh no, because nobody thought they were going to be any
in
good.
their right mind.
Nobody thought they were going to be any good.
But so for those of you at home, TCU has 2 games left before they already locked into the Big 12 championship game. Obviously, they have a road trip to Waco next weekend.
That game
which
is
looked a lot scary.
Difficult.
It looked a lot scary at the beginning of the year, but Baylor is still a solid team. They're still well coached, and then they have Iowa State. Thankfully for TCU, not in Ames. It is at home in Fort Worth. So no scary Ames voodoo in the year this year. But I mean, Iowa State still, them and Purdue love to play spoilers. So I know they'll be up for that game.
100%.
Yeah. Score of TCU's last 5 games, right? Also 43-40, win in double overtime, 38-28, 41-31, 34-24, 17-10, right? So they have been games that they've had to fight the entire way through,
Mhm.
and I think that bodes well for potentially the postseason. Unfortunately, if
Yeah.
it goes chalk, TCU will probably draw Georgia. Not fun, Jim.
Not great.
That's a tough ask.
That's a
That's
tough
a really
ask.
tough ask.
By the way, for the Baylor TCU game in Waco, 10-0 TCU, 6-4 Baylor. It's a 2.5-point spread in favor of TCU. So pretty thin line. A
Yeah.
lot of respect going to the Bears, who started playing better as of late. So
Kind of a
should be good
rivalry game, I feel like, too.
Yeah, it
it's
is.
a private
Kind of.
school rivalry.
Yeah.
It's a rich kid rivalry.
Yeah,
in
rich
the
kid
Big
rivalry.
12.
Just so y'all know, Oklahoma State still has a chance to make the Big 12 championship. K-State
They
has
do.
to lose 2 games, and OSU has to win out. So K-State has to lose out, OSU has to win out. But it is possible for OSU
You don't
to
want
make
that
the Big 12
rematch. It
championship.
will not be a double overtime game. Y'all
No.
get run out of the stadium.
What'd you say, Rob?
Is it pretty much between Oklahoma State and K-State of who plays TCU? Is that who it's down to pretty much?
Yeah. So K-State has West Virginia, which next week, which I don't think they're going to lose, and then they have Kansas, which could be a really good game at the end of the year, especially if West Virginia it wins next week. That could be a huge game, which will be interesting.
So K-State says win one of the next 2 and they're in.
Yes, they have to win one
Shout
of the
out
next 2.
Nears for beating OU. Fuck OU. We hate them.
So yeah, let me finish off this week, and then we can talk about our picks next week. And so, like I said, TCU beat Texas, and then the biggest upset of the week, arguably Arizona, as Robbie mentioned earlier, overtaking UCLA 34-28, dashing any hopes of anything for the Bruins.
Anything.
Classic Chip Kelly, like random loss at the end of the year to like completely screw up postseason chances. I feel like just classic. That is classic Chip Kelly.
Yeah. So here it is, gentlemen. We got to do the pick'em. We got to talk about next week.
Also a nail biter between Carolina and Wake. Please show respect.
I'm not
Yeah.
saying
36-34 Carolina.
Not say that.
Deeks have had a too rough end of the year, but they've had a lot of close losses. I mean, they really should have beat. Yeah. So Carolina is still theoretically in the playoff hunt if they win out. I don't know.
Yeah, they dropped Clemson.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't think anybody's thinking about North Carolina, but yeah, I guess you're right.
And they shouldn't be. They're not great.
They're not gonna beat Clemson. They're not gonna beat Clemson.
Oh, I doubt it. But yeah, so here's the problem, gentlemen, with this week is it's the SEC's cupcake week. So they literally just pick a team, a team that they want.
What are you saying?
I'm saying that there's not a lot of great games.
We have the juggernaut Austin P coming in this weekend, Connor. I need you to put some respect.
That's a 7-3 Austin P.
Yeah, it's got a good season.
Yeah. What are they, like the Colonels or something like that? I think they're the Colonels.
And they got worked by somebody earlier in the year that made them 7-3.
But for our first pick'em game, we're gonna do Battle of the Mids.
Governors.
Battle of the Mids.
Battle of the Mids in Norman, Oklahoma. It is Bedlam. It is Oklahoma State versus Oklahoma. Oklahoma favored by 7.5 at home. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, 7.5.
Is so beat up, man.
Yeah, but we have Sanders. Sanders is going to play this week. Sanders is going to play this week.
They just lost in Morgantown to West Virginia.
That's correct.
Yeah, and we had a comeback in the that's why Battle of the Mids, man. So 7.5 in Norman. Obviously, I'm in the band. I can't lie. I'm a little apprehensive about going to Norman because people in Norman aren't the nicest, especially when they're drunk. So we will see. But yeah, well, who do you have in this thrilling Bedlam matchup?
Give me the Pokes.
Yes, sir.
If you're gonna beat Oklahoma, you have to do it when they're down, and this is the most down we're gonna see Oklahoma for a long time.
That's when the OU would strike.
Last time we saw OU down like this, they beat Oklahoma State 28-0, and it was probably one of the most distraught instances of my father's life. He was so upset.
How does that compare to 59-0 from earlier this year,
dude?
48-0.
48, whatever that score was.
Yeah, well,
that was probably the worst loss in OSU history in the last 25, maybe ever. Honest to God, maybe I don't know. It's up there. Ryan, Ryan? It sounds like you might be going for the Sooners here.
No, I can't.
You're gonna get disowned. You're gonna get disowned.
In my heart, I see an absolute heartbreaking walk-off 3-point Sooners.
Oh
win.
yeah, no, I can see it 100%.
But at 7.5, the Pokes cover like a fucking blanket. The Sooners
I
are
agree.
3-7 against the spread on the year. Cowboys are
I didn't know
6-4. Cowboys
Good
cover,
stats.
but lose by 3.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
oh,
He said it. He
Also,
said the
Oh,
thing.
no.
the 64.5 line, the under hits.
You're not
Big
coming home for
time.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
You're not gonna be able. This is coming out
Yeah.
before Thanksgiving.
Go
Ryan,
and
what
cancel
did
that
you do?
right now.
Last
I'm
time I picked OSU, we lost, so we're turning it on its head.
gonna take the Pokes.
Reverse psychology.
I'm gonna
It's like,
take the
I
Pokes.
have to take the
Yeah, I
Pokes.
have to take the Pokes. I
Pokes
will
cover,
literally be at the game.
That's the
Pokes
freest
cover.
cover I've ever seen.
And then so I guess inside the SEC, the Pac-12 is going to be covering us this week because we have two ranked matchups in the Pac-12. USC UCLA. What do we think here? Obviously, they already met once this year. Is that correct? Am I tripping?
What?
Who did USC play?
Why would they play again? Stupid.
That's why I'm so confused. Well, who did USC lose to?
Utah.
Thank you. Good God. Sorry. Yes.
They lost to the Utes in Salt Lake.
USC versus UCLA at UCLA. The USC is favored by 2.5. Robbie, what are you thinking here?
For some background too, if USC wins, they clinch the Pac-12
go.
championship game berth because they have Notre Dame the last week of the year, so they are done. This is their last Pac-12 game. The Pac-12 did away with divisions, which I don't think I realized until like last week. So there is no more Pac-12 North and South. They do like the Big 12, where the top two teams get in.
Nice.
I think it's going to be tough. I think it's going to be extremely high scoring. I don't think there's going to be one lick of defense. But I don't know what the over/under is, but go ahead and lock.
76.
Give me the fucking over.
Give me the over, and I
76.
think SC does it.
I think SC does it too.
I think it comes down to me that I believe more in Lincoln Riley than I do in Chip Kelly. I think talent-wise, I don't think there's that big of a gap right now.
Yep.
But I think I trust Lincoln Riley a lot more than I trust Chip Kelly. So I think SC covers too.
Give me SC. Give me the points. SC by a tutty. Over. They score 80 here.
Holy
at
crap.
least.
Yeah, it's gonna.
If you go
gross.
back in the last 5 games,
Mhm.
USC 55 points scored, 41, 45, 43. UCLA last 5 games, 34, 50, 38, 45, 42. It's over.
Shout out
It'd be over.
shout out Caleb Williams, 31 touchdowns, 2 interceptions on the year.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
that is
yeah.
impressive, taking care of the ball like that.
Speaking of embarrassing losses, just while we're here, I have to go back to my childhood. One of my favorite memories from my childhood is USC beating UCLA 50-0
Mhm.
in a rivalry game.
It sounds like a Bedlam score. I'm confused.
Yes, yeah, it sounds like
Yeah,
a
it does.
score.
Yeah, it does. That was
OK
a-
State being UCLA, just
speaking-
in case our fans weren't clear on that.
Speaking of big upsets, I just saw Michigan State beat Kentucky in double overtime in college basketball. So that was fun to watch.
In the shooty hoops.
And they were shooting the hoops. Right?
Alabama is playing right now against South Alabama in Mobile.
We got to stay on one sport, guys. I know.
Okay, yeah. Sorry.
And then the next one that we're gonna do for Pick'em, another big time Pac-12 matchup, coming off of a
Wait, Connor, you never picked.
USC. Sorry, Caleb Williams is good,
Okay.
and USC is gonna win.
Sorry, continue.
Another big Pac-12 matchup
Yes.
coming off of a hard loss to Washington. Oregon versus Utah at Oregon. Oregon is favored by 3 points. This one to me could go either way. Oregon, Utah. Oregon favored by 3. Ryan, let's come to you first to get your thoughts on it.
Pac-12 game. It is a ranked Pac-12 game.
It
Pac-12 after dark as well. This is a
9:30
9:30
kick.
So
Let's go.
there's going to be some shenanigans that happen in Eugene.
Hey, 10:30
Oregon's
Eastern,
at
bro.
home, 7-3 against the spread, favored by 3. I think Utah's a better team. Utah has that SC win. They had a bad loss to Florida week 1. They've really turned it around since. They had an absolute nail-biter loss to UCLA. I think Utah goes into Eugene and wins this game as the dog.
Not so fast, you
But
son of
it'll
a
be a
bitch.
good game.
I was about to say the same thing. Shout out Lee Corso. Not so fast. Go ahead, Connor. You got it first.
I got the Ducks. Give me the Ducks. Give me the duck. head, I think that Oregon, after an embarrassing loss to Washington, comes back with a little bit of a vengeance behind them, wants to spoil Utah's fun, doesn't want them to have any chance of anything, and will win there in Oregon.
And this
Shout out Bo
actually
Nix.
makes me want to throw up a little bit to say, but Oregon will have the best player on the field, and his name is Bo Nix.
Bo Nix. Bo Nix is him.
I got the Ducks at home. Utah beat USC, but the other good teams they've played this year haven't really shown up. So give me
I
the
just think
Ducks.
Oregon will collapse after their loss to their
And that's fair. I
heartbreaker
think
to
that's
Washington. And I think Utah will take advantage of that.
Connor, I'm glad we're on the same page with the not so fast, my friend. We're both thinking the same thing.
In all honesty, gents, I don't really have many others that are good games. I mean, we can pick the TC. I feel like we all go for TCU. TCU's spread is 2.5, but I don't feel like there's much. I don't think any of us are going to go for Baylor unless someone wants to step in and say that they're going to take the
You got a
Bears.
spicy cover or something. I don't know. What do we?
It's 2.5 cover. The safety in there somewhere. Okay, here's a fun one. After Tulane's loss, they play SMU in a Thursday night matchup. Tulane only favored by 3 points. Tulane SMU. What do we think?
I really want to take Tulane in that.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick Tulane.
I think we would all pick Tulane. Dude, it's the SEC, man. This week sucks.
There's a couple of games. You got Kentucky and Georgia this weekend.
Kentucky
Kentucky
just lost to Vanderbilt.
You also got South Carolina and Tennessee. You're feeling really spicy in Columbia.
Yeah, baby.
You're just saying the teams that y'all thought were going to be good in the SEC before the season
started.
No,
I'm just throwing out the only other games that caught my eye. Both
Colorado,
Georgia and
Washington
Tennessee
doesn't
win and cover.
Colorado, Washington doesn't jump out at you as a strong
doesn't do it for me. No, it really
doesn't do it for me. Yeah, Tulane wins. It's in New Orleans. Favorite at home. 8-2 against the spread on the year. Yeah, I think Tulane. I think the wave rolls probably by a couple scores here against the Ponies.
Did we talk about Tanner Mordecai and his going absolutely nuclear against Houston a couple weeks ago? I don't think we did. We threw 8 touchdown passes and ran for another one.
Pretty casual of us, honestly.
Insane performance. Absolutely went bonkers. And because no one was playing defense, he got to stay in the entire game and put up 63 on their heads.
That's my type of stat line.
Shout out Tanner Mordecai.
Stupids.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So yeah, we can move on from college football. We are going to go into let's go into the NBA real quick. The Brooklyn Nets have hired a new head coach.
We start off every single NBA section is with the fucking Nets. Anyway, continue.
His name is Jackie Vaughn. He's been an assistant in the NBA, and he is the new coach who's replacing Steve Nash as the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. Robbie, you look like you have something you want to say.
I have a fun net stat that I saw.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Right for the podcast. So when Kyrie, went on his suspension for being Kyrie,
redacted too,
the Nets were ranked 30th in defense in the NBA.
Oh,
you want to know what the Nets are ranked since Kyrie has not been playing?
15th.
1.
That's nuts. So yeah, going into the NBA, honest to God, that was my only NBA headline was the one about the Nets. So yeah, we can just go into the standings real quick. The Trailblazers are 9-4. They're the top of the Western Conference.
Dame is him.
They're top of the Western Conference. They're 6-2 away while only being 3-2 at home, which is kind of impressive. The Jazz are still undefeated at home, 5-0. They're 10-5, I believe. Crazy. Our beloved Dallas Mavericks 7-5. The Warriors struggling a little bit, and apparently there have been reports that Jordan Poole may soon replace Klay Thompson as the starter, because Klay Thompson has just been struggling. Obviously, since he came back from injury, he really looked the same. Even his shot has been off. So I
think people were kind of waiting for that, honestly,
Yeah.
and I think it might be happening a little bit sooner than people expected. Obviously, we saw Klay in the playoffs and especially in the finals, looked okay, but it was pretty noticeable that obviously he had been out of basketball for 2 years, right? So, and when you have an injury like that is so usually devastating to basketball players, and the surgery and the rehabilitation has gotten better over the years, but it's still a really serious injury. So, and Poole kind of came into his own.
So James Wiseman down to the
that's shocking.
I guess he's just not that good.
he looks lost, man. Like, he
Yeah.
just, like, really does not seem like he's grasped,
so
like, the offense
young.
or defense. He is
He's
really young, and,
so
like,
young.
I think this is probably best for his development because he'd kinda gotten buried on the bench for them because
Yeah.
you can't really trust him to be out there, so I think, let him get some playing time, let him be in the same system in the G League because you have, coaches in the G League that are working with the NBA team that they're associated with, so let him get some playing time and see if he can figure it out.
He
He's got
might.
all of the natural talents you could ever need.
Yeah.
He's just gotta figure some things out basketball-wise.
100%.
Speaking of the
So,
Warriors, they are 0-7 away from Oakland
oh yeah,
so
they
far
are.
in the
Holy
year.
crap! Yeah.
Can't win a game on the road to save their lives at the moment.
Interesting. So yeah, some of the teams that are a little disappointing. Timberwolves, who everyone thought would be really good with the Rudy Gobert trade, really haven't been able to put it together. Only 6-8 at close to the bottom of the Western Conference as well. And then the Los Angeles Lakers are 3-10.
Well, we talked
Yo,
about
but West
we talk about
Go ahead.
disappointing, right? But like 13 of the 15 NBA teams in the West are separated by 3.5 games
Yeah.
to like call it 15 games, right?
Yeah.
No one's really separated themselves from the pack yet. The East, you see a little bit more disparity from like the top end teams, but then you still have like the 76ers who are 500 teams in that 7th in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
So what the West is going to be competitive, and I think you'll see the same thing in the East where you have like 4 or 5 really good teams come out of there.
Yeah.
Shout out Russ. We shit on Russ a lot in this podcast, as he deserves.
Yeah.
But his block on KD was sick.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was a big moment for him to get that block on KD in a big moment. So
They seem
shout
more.
out
They
our
seem
man.
more like friends now. They seem more like they're
I agree.
back to a friendly
Yeah.
place.
They've grown up. They're
Yeah.
older now. Shit,
Yeah.
that's been 10 years.
You would hope so. I mean,
It's
yeah, you would
crazy.
hope that. Holy crap!
I mean,
that's
I threw a
crazy.
number out there.
No,
I
but
don't know
like,
if
it's
10 years,
close.
but that sounds about right.
I remember like that finals, like it was like middle school whenever they played whenever the Thunder made the finals that year. Like I remember that was it
2012.
doesn't feel like that long ago, but
10
it
years ago.
was. That's insane.
Yeah. So yeah, moving on from that, going to the Eastern Conference, a team that's cooled off a little bit. The Indiana Pacers are now at 6-6, sitting at the 8th spot. Celtics
Where they belong.
Celtics are top the conference. Bucks are right there trailing them. The Hawks and Cavs and Wizards at the 3, 4, and 5 spot. That's an interesting 3, 4, 5. We all expected the Cavs to be pretty good, and I think everyone expected the Hawks too with the addition of DeJounte Murray. But the Wizards are playing well. I think Porzingis has been a good addition for them, and Bradley Beal is slated to make his comeback. So I mean, the Wizards are in a good spot right now.
KP's getting like 21 points a game on
He's playing
31
well.
minutes a game. He's actually like seemed
He's
to
doing well.
the time off actually rehabbing like he should have been fucking doing for years seems to be working. Like, he's gonna get hurt again, but like it's just a matter of time, unfortunately. But
And Kuz is back to being like a reliable contributor, like he was on the Lakers for a little bit. Like when he looked like he had some potential, like he's actually, he's not going to be your superstar, but he can be a really solid role player to come in and give you points when you need it.
Yeah. A kind of interesting position. The Miami Heat at 9 at a 7-7 record. It's just with that amount of talent. I mean, there's nothing to say except that's just disappointing. I mean, obviously it's still very early in the season, but when you have players the caliber of Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo and Lowry, it's hard to accept that. So yeah,
Bam's had some nagging injuries. He's been day to day pretty much all season. So he's had a little trouble getting on the floor. Butler is playing again really well, pretty efficient, but he's still getting like 36 minutes a game. So
Spoelstra will get him right too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's what I have for the NBA. Moving on to college basketball. Kind of funny news, actually, because it happened on the same day. It was either yesterday or today, but both the number one recruit of women's basketball and the number one recruit of men's basketball committed to their college on the same day, which was kind of funny. For the women's side, her name is Juju Watkins. She's number one in ESPN's women's class of 2023. Plans to sign with the University of Southern California Trojans, so she will be heading over to California to join USC. And on the men's side, DJ Wagner, who's the number one ranked recruit, will be going to Kentucky, who just lost to Michigan State actually tonight. But yeah,
I'm shocked that Kentucky got the number one overall recruit. That literally never happened.
Ever.
I cannot believe this. Shock news.
Fuck Calipari.
Whoa.
I hate
He's
Cal.
such an asshole.
I hate Cal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I fully agree.
You talk about it. Talk about it some, Robbie. Tell me how much you hate him.
he's just such an arrogant bastard. He's such an arrogant bastard, and I
Yes, he
hate
is.
him. And like, yes, they've been good, but like, I hate him. And like, that's all I need to say
But
about
like,
it.
you hate him.
I don't even know if I have a good reason. I just really don't like the guy. And that's all.
That's fair. So yeah, that's all I have for college basketball at the moment. Obviously, still very
Looking at
early
some
in
of the
season.
scores tonight, obviously you said that Michigan State beat Kentucky in double overtime. About 10-point win there. Duke, Kansas is currently going on. Bill Self is still serving out one of his 4-game suspensions. Kansas is up 33-27 at the half. So a pretty good ranked game going on there.
Yep.
This will get Robbie's attention, though. North Carolina played at home against Gardner-Webb. Kind of a spooky game for them. They only won by 6, and Gardner-Webb is not
down.
good.
They were down to College of Charleston second half or this weekend as well. So I think going into the year, Carolina's ranked number 1 and like was kind of expected to be that team this year and haven't looked great. But also, I feel like in college basketball, that's not that unusual to come out slow.
They'll probably get caught.
Yeah, Gardner-Webb's probably a tournament team in their conference. They're usually pretty solid. They didn't they upset someone or almost upset someone in the NCAA tournament not too long ago?
Probably.
I think
I just thought it was interesting kind of looking at the the scores. Carolina's favored by 25. They're playing at home in Chapel Hill. It's like, man, that's an interesting score to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Alabama's up 10 on South Alabama at the half. We mentioned
nice. Battle of the Alabamas.
We're favored by 10, so I love that.
So trying to get Robbie to bed, so I'm gonna move this along a little bit. So we're gonna go into the MLB. Kind of funny given the fact that I have the most MLB headlines and the season's not even in effect right now. It's kind of strange. But honestly, the last week there have been some news. So Anthony Rizzo is re-signing with the New York Yankees on a multi-year deal. He's just returning. It's not huge. I think it was a couple of years, 37 million. It's really not that big. I was kind of surprised. Apparently, Gabe had thought that he might be coming to the Astros. So heartbreaking for him because apparently the Astros first baseman is retiring. So he wanted Rizzo. But yeah, Rizzo is going back to the New York Yankees. Former MLB player Yasiel Puig has agreed to plead guilty to a federal charge for lying to law enforcement officials about sports bets he made with an illegal gambling operator.
You want to say
that doesn't shock me at all, actually.
Yeah, is it you want to be surprised, but you're not at all.
It's kind of funny. I just a headline I saw. I was like, I guess I'll write that down.
It's not ideal for him, for sure.
If you remember Yasiel Puig, it's even funnier just because of who he was as a baseball player as well.
Cool. So yeah, moving on to Julio Rodriguez. Congratulations to him. He is the 2022 AL Rookie of the Year. So big congrats. The baseball MLB awards will be kind of dished out over this next week. But that's one of the ones that has been announced already.
Michael Harris Jr. was the AL Rookie of the Year.
Thank you very much. I don't think they posted it earlier.
That came out today, I think.
Okay.
So it's between Braves actually had 2 players in the finals for the NL MVP. It was him and Spencer Strider, and it's between those 2 guys. So
that's very cool.
Harris had a really good year. Good for him. Shout out him.
Very, very another very cool development in sports. This is my last MLB one. Miami Marlins promote Caroline O'Connor to president, and promoting O'Connor makes the Marlins the first U.S. major sports franchise to have women serving simultaneously as president and GM. So that is very, very cool for the Miami Marlins.
Interesting that it happened in baseball. Like I feel like my guess for the first sport that would have happened would have been in basketball, just because women's basketball and men's basketball are very similar. Like
it has
rules.
Well, like there's
softball and baseball are completely different games,
right? I'm not women play baseball too, but just like you don't usually play it at high of a level because you do usually switch to softball.
Yeah.
So I thought that's very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a very, very cool development there. Moving on, I have a quick WNBA headline. Washington Mystics head coach Mike Thibault is retiring as the team's coach, but will continue as GM. Thibault is the winningest coach in WNBA history. So he's semi-retiring.
He was coach and GM?
Yes.
That's kind of wild.
Well, it says will continue as the GM, so I don't know if they hire. I'm not sure actually. I don't know if they hired him or if he was doing both roles, but I hope he enjoys his retirement. I don't know because he's going to the GM role, so I don't know if that's the right phrasing.
It's pseudo retirement.
Yeah, it's pseudo retirement. So yeah, congrats to him. As I said, he's the winningest coach in WNBA history, and that's no small achievement. Moving on to the NFL. You're going over some of the headlines. Odell Beckham Jr. has filed a $20 million lawsuit against Nike, alleging the company didn't honor his endorsement contract and is willfully withholding millions of dollars and inventing excuses not to pay him. He released a full statement on his Twitter, so if you want to go and read that, you can go over to his Twitter page. What do we think of this?
I totally missed that headline. What just happened?
Yeah, I didn't see anything about that. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, say it again. I didn't physically hear you.
Oh.
OBJ has filed a $20 million lawsuit against Nike, alleging the company didn't honor his endorsement contract and it's willfully withholding millions of dollars and inventing excuses not to pay him.
OBJ is like
this is gonna be terrible.
Coors Light to like AB being Coors Heavy. Like they're just kind of cut from the same cloth. OBJ's got that CTE too. Do we think Nike would withhold that much money from such like a high profile athlete?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go.
A high profile athlete that hasn't played at the same level that he did when he signed that contract.
That's what I would think.
Would not be surprised, to be completely honest with you.
There you go.
Now, you're right. I mean, OBJ is OBJ and does all kinds of weird things. Not on the level of Antonio Brown, but you know, he does kind of live in his own wide receiver diva world at times.
Yeah.
But it also wouldn't completely surprise me if that was true.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, if you want to read the full statement that OBJ put out, you can go to his Twitter page and read that. Continuing on with the headlines, Amari Rodgers, who has 5 fumbles on the season, the most in NFL, except for quarterbacks, who had a fumble yesterday in the Packers' overtime wins against the Cowboys, has been released by the Packers for that specific play. He had, I think, out of his 5 fumbles, 4 of them were on punt returns. That is not going to cut it in the NFL.
It's the Packers' fault for throwing him back there, like 5 different times.
Yeah. Yeah, it's.
He had a bunch last year though too. Like this is not the first time. Like he also had fumbles last year.
It's kind of funny because, or it's not funny. Obviously, this is a man's livelihood, so it's not funny. But coincidental that I don't know if you remember a few years back, the Packers and Cowboys were playing a playoff game, and I think his name was Boykin. I don't fully remember, but the Cowboys kicked an onside kick, and basically the guy, I think his name was Boykin, I might be wrong, he went up for it, and it like hit his helmet, and he like missed it with his hands, and then and then they ended up losing that game, and then he got released because of that play. It's very weirdly similar. It's like it was against the Cowboys, it was because of a fumble. It's very weirdly similar.
The unfortunate thing is, one of the special teams guys, like that's what they're paying you to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Like your job is to secure the ball, and like if you're not doing that, like you know, you gotta do what they're paying you to do, I guess.
Yeah. Continue on. There's an injury plague right now across the NFL. It's kind of crazy. Cooper Kupp, who obviously is the star receiver of the Los Angeles Rams, is having to undergo some ankle surgery. Apparently he's not out for the season, but obviously with the Rams playing as poorly as they are, especially considering they're the Super Bowl defending champions, obviously they think that it's appropriate for him to take some time off to get the surgery and recover. So yeah, he is injured. Currently, Dallas Goedert is also injured. Looks like he's out for the season. Zach Ertz is injured. Looks like he's out for the season. Leonard Fournette sustained an injury. Juju Smith sustained an injury. Khalil Herbert has been placed on the IR. It is insane. I mean, obviously we're at the point of the year where injuries.
Herbert's on IR?
Yeah, damn. Khalil Herbert's on IR.
And how many of these injuries occurred on turf, do we think?
So bad.
He thinks a lot of them.
You know the funny thing though is like, so obviously there's a lot of complaints about turf, but you see all the complaints about the field in Germany that was grass?
No, I didn't.
Like, because like players were slipping the whole time. Like you saw in that interception that Fournette threw where he's trying to throw it to Brady and Brady slipped while he was running the route.
Yeah,
there's a lot of slipping and stuff, and like it's like, okay, well we're slipping on grass, but we're tearing up our knees on turf. Like, you know, what is the answer?
Slipping on grass.
I agree.
Would be my.
I agree with you, but
you see what I'm saying.
There's a lot of complaining.
Well, yeah, because these guys have been playing on turf their whole life, and so they're used to. It's like, but yeah, I see what you're saying, Ryan. Where it's like you could try to phase the next generation into the grass or whatever.
I guess Bruce Irvin like tweeted something too. Is like, I can't believe they made us fly 10 hours to play on that field or something like that too. And it's like, well, you guys don't want to play on turf either, so. I don't know.
Maybe it was just poorly kept. I don't know.
And like maybe like soccer, because they're playing on Bayern Munich's like field.
Yeah, so it could be different grass than what they're used to.
Yeah, I don't know, but 100%. Still,
100%.
So just odd.
Yeah. So obviously we hope the best for them. Obviously we want them to recover as healthily as they can. It's just the NFL, man. It's an incredibly dangerous sport. It's incredibly intensive on your body. So we hope all those guys get healthy and well.
Shit, does Monty get the start this week?
Yeah.
If Herbert's out?
Yes.
Absolutely. Never mind. Made that change real quick. Anyway, continue.
Something that I am excited about in the NFL because they might be looking at a playoff spot, maybe, and already a stellar D line. Commanders DN Chase Young is making his return this weekend.
Oh, is he?
And I am really excited to see him play some football.
Their
D line is disgusting.
Fucking terrified.
Dude, Chase,
already so good.
Yeah.
You got Jonathan Allen, Montez Sweat, and now you got
so
Chase
good.
Young coming back?
Yeah, it's terrifying.
Nasty.
Deron Payne.
Bro, you only need to rush 3. You only need to rush 3 out of those 4. It's crazy. So yeah.
Chase Young got to be dropping in coverage real quick.
But like
exactly.
he can. Chase Young.
I know. I know.
100%.
Yeah.
I think the Commanders obviously. I saw another thing earlier that ESPN posted. Like the entirety of the NFC East and AFC East could make the playoffs, and that includes the Commanders sitting down there. It's insane, and so yeah, the Commanders are obviously excited.
I know the Jets don't even have the worst record in the AFC East, but the fact that the Jets could make the playoffs by itself is impressive.
I know.
ESPN's ranking the Jets in the top 10 in their power rankings.
Because they're good.
Fucking wild.
Because Sauce is him. Sauce Gardner is so
really
good.
He's really good.
I haven't heard of a defensive back, and obviously being one of the most difficult positions in football, being so touted in like the NFL draft process, coming from not a traditional Power 5 like DBU. Obviously, he had insane stats, like never gave up a touchdown in college. Like Bama wouldn't even throw at him in the CFP.
And that's what people like. They thought that because it was because of the conference that he was in that he was like so good. It's like no.
Dude is clamps.
The only knock on him was that he played at Cincinnati. He's one of those players that was like, that was the only bad thing anyone could say about him. It's like, oh, well, he played at Cincinnati. Otherwise, everything else you wanted to see in a defensive back was there. Yeah. And now you're saying,
if Alabama wouldn't throw at him, what do you like?
Yeah.
They didn't want that smoke. He's obviously far and away the best player on that team. So like, they're just going to go the other way.
Yeah.
So yeah,
crazy. Talking about injuries, TJ Watt was back for the Steelers this week after tearing his pec 2 months ago.
Yeah.
You know, gave them a jolt to beat the shitty Saints. What an absolute awful game that was.
So actually, we'll run down the games right now. Actually, funny enough. So yeah, the Chase Young, that'll be exciting to watch him play. But Robbie, we're gonna start out with that Thursday night game. The Panthers beating the Falcons, baby.
Let's go. The Panthers should be undefeated against the NFC South right now because they should have won that Falcons game a couple weeks ago, which is crazy to say, but the Panthers should theoretically be 4-0 in the NFC South.
Yeah, the NFC South.
And those would be the only ones that we have.
Dumpster fire.
Oh yeah. But we got the momentum. Baker is coming back next week. Like,
I don't know if that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Can't wait for us to lose again this weekend, but
is that a positive? I don't know.
In a heartbreaker, something that made me want to throw up in my mouth a little bit. The Packers beating the Cowboys
Aaron Rodgers,
in
stupid
overtime.
bitch.
31-28. 31-28. Pain and suffering is all I can say. Ryan, you got anything?
No, I don't. Cover the fucking rookie. Why are we giving the rookie 3 tutties who had like caught like 5 balls this
Christian
entire
Watson?
Season?
Wait, Romeo?
RTBs can be burnt toast sometimes.
No, it's Christian Watson.
Christian Watson, right? Yeah. He cooked us. Yeah. So moving on, the Buccaneers
Rodgers had 6 throws in the first half. How are we losing this game?
You want to talk about it? Or?
No. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, after struggling this season, are picking up a few wins here and there. 21-16 over the Geno Smith-led Seattle Seahawks, who are. It seems the Bucs are going up like this. The
In
Seahawks
Germany,
are kind of going out like
this. Top 2-0 since the divorce.
Oh gosh!
Shout out Tommy. He's dialed the NFL's fucked.
Clearly, Giselle was holding it back. Clearly, I mean that's the only logical explanation I can come up with.
I think that's the title of the podcast. Was Giselle holding Brady back? Exclamation
Have
mark,
we-
question mark, exclamation mark.
Are we only going to see better Tom Brady from here on out now that Giselle is out
It'd
of the
be
picture?
interesting.
I mean,
Yes.
as of right now, it looks like it. I mean, I'm basing this off a very large sample size, but it looks like to
my
me.
sample size of 2, this tracks.
Well, I mean, yeah. Obviously, that messes with his head and stuff. So I see what I see where you're coming from. But yeah, so I'm gonna save that game till the end because for obvious reasons. Lions and Bears, 31-30. Justin, I gotta call out Ryan for his take a couple weeks ago. Ryan said that Ohio State has never produced
3 games
as a good quarterback. Justin Fields might be making an argument.
Can I give myself a shout out for saying that I think he's starting to figure it out? I think or that same area. I think give ourselves some props for the good takes on the pod. We don't have many.
Are we trading Connor straight up? Cowboys fan, do you trade Dak Prescott for Justin Fields straight up right now?
Oh, man.
The fact you're thinking about that means he's not a good quarterback yet. So let's pump the brakes on the fucking reactionary takes.
I'm gonna say no.
No. Wait, here's the thing. Like, are we talking about just for this year? Or are we talking about for the future? Because Justin Fields
right now.
Well, like if you're trading for Justin Fields right now, he's winning. He's starting to win games. He's going to have a better around him with the Cowboys, but he's only going to get better in the future.
But is he as good at throwing? Is he as good at throwing the ball as Prescott is?
Obviously not.
That's
right
what
now,
I'm concerned about. Well, but that's what I'm concerned about because Dak has those weapons. He has that experience, and our defense is the number 1 in the league. It's like if you have any chance to go to like the Super Bowl, I wouldn't trust Fields. I would trust Prescott more than I would trust Fields.
But how would Dak Prescott do on this Bears team? Think about the other.
Oh, I'm not saying it'd be I'm not saying it'd be better.
He'd be able to throw the ball a little bit better than Fields would.
It's an interesting conversation. I mean, I can see both sides of the argument. But at this, I don't know. That's a good comparison, Ryan. But I think Fields is still he's playing his game and Dak plays his game. It's different situations, obviously. But the Lions pulling out against the Bears by 1 point. That was kind of an interesting one, despite Fields' massive effort.
An extra point.
Shout out to Chicago Bears. Continuing on, Russ continues not to cook. 17-10, Tennessee Titans, because Derrick Henry is a freak. Will that dude ever stop playing football?
Tennessee Titans would be the worst team in the league without Derrick Henry. They're not good.
Yeah. Their defense is good. Give their defense some credit.
Bad.
Their defense is real. Yeah, of course. It's Ryan Tannehill.
Tannehill actually had a decent week this week. I'm not going to count, but
Tannehill's bad.
I was reading something the other day that I kind of forgot about. Do you remember that Derrick Henry was pretty much able to bust his first year and a half in the league? So he's averaging 2 yards a carry and wasn't really doing anything, and then all of a sudden he just popped off, and now he's
also Connor's being a casual.
Yeah, no, I just looked at his stats. Derrick Henry did not do that well this week. I'm not going to count. And Ryan Tannehill did do well this week, so that was my bad for not figuring out the stats.
Derrick Henry's still the man.
Denver's probably a top 3 rushing defense in the league.
Yeah, so I'm not.
That's a little bit more understandable.
Yeah. Continuing on from that, the Chiefs beating the Jaguars 27-17. I think that if you still believe that Patrick Mahomes is not the best quarterback in the NFL, there's something wrong with your brain. If you think Josh Allen's great, if you think Josh Allen is better than Patrick Mahomes, I don't understand that train of thought. I just don't.
Jacksonville is so close.
You're right.
Jacksonville is really close. They're 3-6.
3-7.
3-7. We saw a really good game for them against the Chargers, right? They beat the brakes off the Chargers, and the Chargers had a bunch of people out. But
the Chargers aren't very good this year.
No, they're not. There are some serious flashes from this team. You got so many good young pieces with Kirk, with ETN. Lawrence is I want to say getting there. I had my takes against him, obviously, and I still think he's going to be somewhat considered a bust. But
Miles Jack on the defensive side is really good.
Yeah.
I
think next year Jacksonville wins the AFC South.
Ooh, there's a take.
I could see it. I think you also have to accept at this point that Trevor Lawrence is not going to be the elite quarterback that he was drafted to be. I don't think he's necessarily going to be a terrible quarterback in the NFL, but I'm not sure that I'd trust him to take that step to be an elite quarterback.
Agreed.
And that's what he was drafted, and that's why he's going to be a bust for as long as he plays.
Mm-hmm. I see what you're saying.
An absolute brutal cover at 9.5 with Chiefs winning by 10.
Speaking of teams beating the brakes off of each other, the Dolphins beating the brakes off of the Browns 39-17. So yeah, congrats to the Dolphins for that big win. The Giants holding it out against the Texans, not 24-16. It wasn't a blowout by any means. The Giants held on to that one. But yeah.
You mean
Right.
the 7-2 Giants? Why are we shocked?
No, I'm not shocked. It's just that they barely voted. They fed.
Time. I'm sorry.
They gave Saquon the ball 35 times. Granted, against the Texans. So
yes, correct.
Yeah. Moving on.
Well, who are they throwing the ball to? Sterling
Dude, Kenny
Shepard?
Galladay. What is wrong with him? Does he just
He's
not want to play
bad.
football? I
He's
no,
bad.
I don't think he's bad. I just think he doesn't want to be there. Like he just acts like he doesn't want to play football. It's so weird. Like he gets wide open passes and he just like drops it. It's oh man.
Sorry. Sterling Shepard is out. It's Darius Slayton that's back. I can't ever keep the two of them straight because one of them is always.
Steelers beating the Saints 20-10. That is just his game.
Was a bad
Move past.
That's in his debut game, Jeff Saturday taking down the Las Vegas Raiders 25-20. Which it's funny because CBS posted something. I told this to Ryan and Robbie the other day, but CBS posted something. Jeff Saturday becomes the first coach since 1950 to tweet out that a team looks bad 2 weeks before debuting against them and beating them. It's just as stupid as it.
He sunned the Raiders organization.
Well, okay,
Yeah.
like, and I know this might not be as hot of a take of it, but are the Raiders the most disappointing team in the NFL?
No,
They're
because
2-7.
the Rams are 3-6 as Super Bowl champions.
The Rams are yeah, I see what you're saying. That's fair, but the Raiders are 2-7.
But I think we knew the Rams weren't going to be as good as last year because they lost Von Miller and they lost some of those pieces they had. Like the Raiders went out and went all in this year. They got Devontae. Like they made a lot of theoretical improvements. And you're now worse.
You look at
like
their
a lot worse.
You look at their studs, right? Carr 24 for 38 for 250 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jacobs has had a really good year.
He's been going
21
crazy.
carries, 80 yards and a touchdown. Devontae Adams 9 catches, 130 yards and a touchdown. Like
everything else.
Looking just at the surface of the people they got and their stars, besides Darren Waller, who's been dealing with injuries. Renfro's also disappeared, but that's more of an impact of Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
I think Vegas's defense has really let them down this year. And you see that when you have the Texans scoring 20 points on you, the Broncos scoring 29 points on you. That's just
you
not
let Russ cook
for success. Yeah, you let
you
Russ
actually
cook.
let Russ cook. Did you guys see? So when Justin Herbert was appointed coach, there's a lot of people coming out saying how dumb it was, and one of the most vocal was Joe Thomas, former offensive lineman for the Cleveland Browns, and he went on a whole rant about how it's a terrible hire and he couldn't believe Irsay did it, and that Saturday didn't at all deserve this opportunity. Shout out Pat McAfee, because Pat McAfee keeps his receipts. Joe Thomas was on his podcast saying how he should be the Browns' interim coach after Hugh Jackson got fired.
Oh, he's just jealous.
Hysterical.
That means he's just jealous.
Jealous and wanted attention, but it's also you're really going to come out and say that after you wanted to be an interim coach with no coaching experience yourself?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Circle back to your point, Connor. Vegas is definitely one of the most disappointing teams this year in the most disappointing division. I don't think there's a question that the AFC West is the most underperforming division of football this year.
Hey, but
you're supposed to have Derek Carr, Justin Herbert, Russell Wilson, and Patrick Mahomes all in the same division. Russell's look like shit. Herbert is a walking corpse. Carr was literally breaking down crying post game.
Yeah,
because Vegas can't figure it out. It's actually really sad.
He said that he thought it he was kind of blaming his teammates. He's like some of these guys want to be here, some of these guys want to play, but he's like some of them don't act like they want to be here. They don't love this place, And so he's like, I mean, obviously that's what a quarterback's there to do is call out his guys. It's like
that coach's seat is about as hot as it can get. I can imagine
100%,
right now.
100%.
No, they said they're gonna bring him back next year.
That's wild.
They already said McDaniels will be back next year because they believe he's doing good things.
What 2 wins is good?
2 wins. 2 wins isn't a whole lot of good.
I disagree.
Not...
As a podcast host, I disagree. But
Al Davis is rolling over in his grave right now. But
I mean, shout out to Jeff Saturday. Obviously, he put Matt Ryan back in control of the offense. Matt Ryan had a decent game, and then Jonathan Taylor finally had a game that people could look at and talk about and be like, "Hey, there's the Jonathan Taylor from last year. 22 carries, 147 yards, 1
Hines
touchdown."
getting traded is going to be big for Jonathan Taylor in fantasy because now they don't have that running back coming on third downs, so he's going to start getting receptions too. Which you could debate maybe not be good because he's been hurt, but.
Was Ryan benched because of an injury or just because he was playing a washed up Matt Ryan?
So they kind of used the injury as an excuse, and they were like, Ellinger's going to be the starter, but it's not just because of the injury. And then I guess Jeff Saturday just brought him back in.
I didn't think Ryan was playing bad enough.
No, I agree.
To just promote Ellinger. It's not like Ellinger's your franchise future.
It's just where their season was. They just wanted to see, I guess, where he was at.
That was Reich trying to save his job of being like, we're trying out this new rookie now. Like, you got to give me time to see if he can do it. That was all that was.
Yeah.
Yo, Ryan had like a 30-yard run. Did y'all see that?
Yeah, it was sick.
Moving.
Old man going. But yeah, continuing on, as Ryan mentioned earlier, the Cardinals beating the Rams 27-17. Obviously, the Rams being one of the most disappointing teams in the league.
Getting beat by a team that's also been really disappointing this year.
And then Cooper Kupp's out. It's ugh.
Should Colt McCoy start for the Cardinals?
Colt McCoy.
No.
Shout out Colt McCoy, dude. That's a name and a half. I haven't heard that name. And then obviously another disappointing team, as we talked about earlier, it's still with a winning record, which seems strange at this point. The 49ers and Jimmy G beating Justin Herbert and the Los Angeles Chargers. Obviously on an offense without any receiving core right now because all their starting receivers are hurt. But I mean, you know, it's hilarious. I saw the stat on the broadcast. Jimmy G is 10-2 in games where he hasn't thrown a passing touchdown.
Yep.
He is 10-2 in games where he hasn't thrown a passing.
Is just him. He's so good looking, and he's surrounded by so much talent. And
game manager.
He doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't really make a ton of mistakes. So. I mean, he's overpaid.
Yeah, he's like Cooper Rush if Cooper Rush was just incredibly handsome.
Yeah. He had a running touchdown, though. Don't shout out Jimmy G for the running touchdown on fantasy. I still lost. But
how the mighty have fallen. The Monday night game results in the last undefeated team in the NFL going down to the Washington Commanders, 32-21. The Philadelphia Eagles lose.
The commies.
Riverboat Ron.
This was an interesting.
Put a fantasy miracle this Monday night.
That was wild. I saw the
Both,
sleeper thing.
I pulled mine out, but yeah.
I don't know how Devontae lost 4 points. I'm still kind of confused on that.
Yeah,
I think you lose 2 if you fumble, and then 2 if you also lose the fumble, something like that.
Interesting.
I don't think that's right.
I don't think that's right either.
We can look into it.
Well, I might. I might just be stupid.
Real quick, I'm sure y'all saw the replay of Heineke in the late hit with like a minute and a half left in the fourth quarter.
That dude got so hyped.
That was a late hit. I do not know what the Eagles fans are coping about, saying that it wasn't 100%. That man was down for a fucking minute and then still got hit. In today's NFL, I do not know what you want to what you want.
I agree. Also, have you seen how many game-winning drives that Taylor Heineke has had in his career? It's
Taylor
insane.
Heineke and Carson Wentz on the same team is just comeback magic.
Taylor Heineke might be and I saw this guy break down or whatever. He's the luckiest quarterback of all time, and this guy said he's touched by God. He said if he could have 3 quarterbacks to go on a game-winning drives, Tom Brady 1. Patrick Mahomes 2, Taylor Heineke legitimately 3. And he was like, I'm not kidding. I
love that take. I love that take. Devontae only lost 2 points, right?
No,
he only has a -2.
Did he have negative rushing yards or something? Was it something to do with
did he get negative yards?
That's what I couldn't figure out because it was 17 and change or whatever. And then it was 13 and change. And I was like, I don't know how he lost 4 points.
He must have lost receiving yards for it too.
So yeah,
but it was a lateral. He didn't get it first.
I don't know how it works.
So that's why
it's whoever ends with the ball gets the yards.
Mm-hmm.
So if I didn't see the play. But if he lateraled and then they recovered it, he was the last player to have the ball, and those are his yards.
So whoever gets the ball last.
Interesting. Okay, so that was the stat change. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
And then the last game we have to talk about, the undisputed game of the year, overtime classic versus the Vikings and the Bills. This game, maybe harboring the greatest catch of all time, or definitely, arguably, the greatest catch of all time in Justin Jefferson. Oh, yeah, 100%. In Justin Jefferson's one-handed snag. This game was not only incredible, but I mean, a drama-filled finish with Josh Allen fumbling on the half-yard line and the Vikings recovering it. This game was incredible.
And then throwing a pick in the end zone in the game.
A pick.
If it was any quarterback but Josh Allen, and like I know he's caught some slack for it, but he would have gotten ripped apart for those last 2 turnovers.
Oh, people are like,
he lost in the game.
People are like, it might not just be the coin tosses. It's like it might not just be the coin tosses.
And quarterbacks you least want to win a game-winning drive, is Josh Allen the least? I mean,
for some reason he's not clutch.
It's weird.
He's not.
So
but when we say that, but his last his drive before the pick was incredible. Like it really was. I mean,
he's not.
It's weird.
He's not clutch when it matters. Connor.
It's like he's cursed, but like legitimately.
But also that Gabe Davis catch shouldn't have been a catch.
Yes, true. He didn't have. Yeah, you're very.
And
you're
they also, the Bills also had 12 guys on the field for one of the goal line plays when the Vikings were trying to get in, and they didn't throw the penalty on it.
He's cursed, bro. I'm telling you. Ryan, what were you gonna say?
Would y'all rather have the 18-1 Tom Brady, Randy Moss, like Tom Brady that year,
gross team,
or Kirk Cousins at 1 p.m. games?
Tom Brady.
Do I get Kirk Cousins?
The wrong pick. Do
I get Kirk Cousins?
Do I get Randy Moss?
Yeah, that was my next question.
But do I get Randy Moss?
No, you get. Do you want Tom Brady and Randy Moss, or Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson at 1 p.m.? Those are your options.
I want Tom Brady and Randy Moss.
I want Iguodala. No, I want fucking Kirk Cousins. Give me that shit.
Bro,
did you see how iced out that man was?
I'm the one who defends Kirk Cousins. Y'all hate Kirk Cousins.
I'm a believer, bro. 8-1. Like,
thank you. Finally,
he is still the definition of mid.
No, he's not. He's not mid.
he's now 7 games over 500 for his career, good. So he's no longer.
Yeah, bingo. You got it. Finally figured it out. Stupid asses.
If he wins the Super Bowl, close to catching up with Eli Manning for the best mid quarterback of all time.
He's better. Kirk Cousins is better than Eli ever was. Eli's a bum.
Oh,
that's a hot take. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know about that one.
I like it, but it's a hot take. Only because Kirk Cousins can't play in prime time.
Yes.
If Kirk Cousins won like 2 more Monday night games, I might give him.
Has he won a Monday night game yet?
I don't think he has. I think he's won like 1 or 2 primetime games. It's all about like the primetime. So like Thursday night, Sunday night, Monday night.
Interesting. So yeah,
Kirk Cousins primetime stats. He's 10-18.
No way.
He's 2-10 on Monday Night Football.
We knew that. We knew that one.
Yeah.
Also, real quick before we move off the Bills as a whole, Bills host the Browns this weekend. Apparently, it's gonna be snowpocalypse and for lake effect snow. So from
2 feet of snow.
No, it's 31 inches from Friday night to Sunday morning.
That is so. Why would you need that many?
It's a better joke when it's like, you know,
it's
6
like
or 7.
It's so many.
Rob and I was like, wait.
That's 31 inches of snow.
Yeah, some lake effect shenanigans in Buffalo.
In meteorologist terms, that is a shitload of snow.
So
that is
from a fantasy perspective. If
that's a good point,
Nick Chubb isn't getting started.
Oh yeah, you need to start.
RB1.
What?
Like that man's gonna have 4 touchdowns.
Ever bench Chubb? Chubb has been like the best running back in the league.
If you're not starting Nick Chubb right now, you don't deserve to have Nick Chubb.
Do you start D'Ernest Johnson at a flex position, knowing the weather conditions?
You could consider it.
Could get spicy.
Get spicy.
So you want to hear an interesting spread next week, gents, for the NFL?
Yes.
The Cowboys play the Vikings. The Vikings at home, and the Cowboys are favored by 1 point.
What time is the game?
It's at 3:25.
Cowboys cover.
325.
Maybe
The favor.
maybe a
Or,
letdown game from the Vikings too. A little bit of a letdown,
Could be.
coming off of a big win on the road.
And with a big loss on the road for the Cowboys, maybe try to get a little revenge
God.
game against the NFC
Yep.
North.
And
I
the
can see it.
Thursday Night Football continues their streak of the Titans and the Packers are this week's Thursday night matchup. So have fun watching that on Prime, because I probably won't.
I don't want to.
I'm gonna
want
love
to.
every second of it.
I'm just gonna
I'm
watch
gonna sit
Aaron Rodgers
through that
complain about his receivers running the wrong fucking route.
Yeah.
I promise you, I will probably watch every play of that game.
Oh, 100%.
Because I have a problem.
Oh yeah.
The first step is admitting it, and the second step is not doing anything about it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Be a man.
I can stop whenever I want. I just don't want to stop.
And then the worst matchup of the week, or other than that, it may be the Bears and the
Excuse you.
The Bears.
That is
and
the most
Falcons.
disrespectful take. No, the Falcons are at least like 4-5. The worst game of the week goes to
the
Raiders versus the Broncos.
Oh, you're right.
Oh.
Oh yeah, 100%. A divisional matchup where everyone thought that division would be the best division in football by a mile before the season started.
Or Andy Dalton versus whoever
Whoa.
the fuck LA is rolling out, because it ain't Stafford.
John Walford.
Yeah, that matchup.
Without Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, that's the one.
Guys, remember when we said
that game could also be awful.
Guys, remember when we did a tier list and we thought Jameis and Baker would be like elite quarterbacks?
Mm-hmm.
You remember
Well, Jameis got hurt, so we can still stay.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's all I have sports wise. I have a few pop culture things. Awards. Obviously, it's the end of the year, and so a lot of awards things are happening. The Grammys have announced nominees, so we'll go through a few of those, and then also the video games of the year or the nominees after that have been announced. So I'll run down some of those lists real quick. You can chime in whenever you want. So the general field for the Grammys, so record of the year, "Don't Shut Me Down" by ABBA, "Easy on Me" by Adele. We have "Break My Soul" by Beyonce, "Good Morning Gorgeous" by Mary J. Blige, "You and Me on the Rock" by Brandy Carlisle featuring Lucius, "Woman" Doja Cat, "Bad Habit" Steve Lacy, "The Heart" Part 5 Kendrick Lamar, "About Damn Time" Lizzo, and "As It Was" by Harry Styles. Hearing those names, who do you think's gonna take this one home?
I can maybe think of the melodies to like two of those songs.
I can promise you it will not be Kendrick Lamar.
Oh no, it's not gonna be Kendrick. I think it might be
Doja can step on it.
It might be Adele. What?
Grip.
What did you just say?
What?
I think it might be Adele. I think Adele might take that one home, but I could see it honestly going a few different ways.
Am I the only one that didn't realize ABBA released an album?
Yeah, I didn't.
I literally couldn't have told you that.
Did not know
Same boat.
So yeah, those are the nominees for Song of the Year. Album of the Year, real quickly: Voyage, ABBA; 30, Adele; Un Verano Sin Ti, Bad Bunny; Renaissance, Beyonce; Good Morning Gorgeous, Deluxe, Mary J. Blige; In These Silent Days, Brandy Carlisle; Music of the Spheres, Coldplay; Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, Kendrick Lamar; Special, Lizzo; and Harry's House by Harry Styles. So yeah, and there's a few others for Song of the Year, and I just have to announce this. Because it's kind of offending, in all honesty. So let me find it real quick. Yeah, so best rap album, "God Did" by DJ Khaled is on the list. DJ Khaled's on the list.
Good for DJ Khaled, man. Good for him.
Also on the list, and I love him, and I really do like him as an artist, but "Come Home, the Kids Miss You," Jack Harlow, was not a good album. And we're putting that as album of the year. It wasn't good. I don't think it was even good.
Church Downs is also up for Rap Song of the Year, which I don't know.
Dude,
I think
it's
there are
kind
a lot better
of
options out there, but
kind of strange. Some of the nominations. That is, yeah. So that's some of the Grammy stuff. Moving on over to the video game stuff. Game of the Year includes the nominees include A Plague Tale: Requiem, Elden Ring, God of War: Ragnarok, which is a game that Robbie has been playing very frequently. Horizon Forbidden.
10 out
Horizon Forbidden West, Stray, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Robbie, obviously, your vote is going to God of War.
I this only one I take it back. I've played Stray. I don't know why it's up for Game of the Year. It was fine. I think Elden Ring will win if I had to guess. But God of War Ragnarok was excellent. I did see a fun little tidbit about the Game of the Year just a little bit ago.
Go ahead.
There's not been an Xbox exclusive nominee for Game of the Year in 10 years.
That is interesting. PlayStation. I mean, in all honesty, PlayStation has better exclusives. They always
That's
have,
correct.
which
They
makes
have
me
God
sad.
of War and Horizon are both up there, and
Spider-Man
those are
2.
both PlayStation exclusives. But I'm saying I'm talking about for this year. Like both,
Oh,
there's
excuse
2
me.
nominees this year that are PlayStation exclusives, and
Yeah.
then Xenoblade Chronicles is a Switch exclusive. So the only
that's
major
interesting.
gaming console without a nominee is Xbox, which I think is very interesting.
Xbox.
Let me ask you guys, because I'm asking for one of the next gen consoles for Christmas. That's gonna be like
Yeah,
my
I
one
heard.
big Christmas gifts that I want. I've been an Xbox kid my whole life, and I don't know if it's easier to just keep going down the path, but it's like I've always wanted to play the PlayStation games, and I really haven't ever before. Robbie, what would you recommend?
So obviously Game Pass is, I think, the big draw if you want to go Xbox. Xbox Game Pass is excellent. They've got a lot of really good games on Game Pass. PlayStation is trying to compete. They have stepped up tiers of like PlayStation Plus now where you get access to like more games, like they add games every month. And so like I've been getting like they gave you like newish games, like games that came out 6 months ago that you can now play like with your PlayStation Plus membership.
Mm.
And it gives you access to a lot of like PlayStation exclusives. Like if you buy a PS5, you automatically get access like God of War, and
Yeah,
you get access to Spider-Man, I think, and a couple of those. So like if you haven't gotten to play those games, like I think that makes the PS5 worth it just by itself because you're going to inherently get hundreds of dollars of games just by buying the PS5.
mm-hmm. I think that's good
I,
advice.
I'm an unabashed PlayStation homer. I've only ever had PlayStation, so I'm going to tell you to get a PS5. I have a PS5 and I love it. So
Well, there have been so many games that have been like PlayStation exclusives that I want to play. There was this game called Until Dawn years ago that was a PlayStation exclusive that I really wanted to play, and I just had to watch PewDiePie playthroughs. And then there was the Spider-Man game, and then there was some other stuff that I was like, I really want to play those, and I couldn't because I had an Xbox, and I was like, ugh. So yeah, it
a lot of those games get ported to PC eventually. If you have your PC,
eventually. Spider-Man's on PC now. So yeah, 100%. So I mean,
Doesn't want to be a PC gamer though. He won't.
I'm not a
upgrade his
PC.
rig.
I just like sitting on a couch. I don't like sitting in a
He's a
chair.
couch gamer, which
Yeah.
I respect.
I like couches much more.
People game in different ways.
I'm a console guy too,
All
through
right.
and through. I'm just never going to be like competitive enough, even on a mouse and keyboard, for any of those games I would want to play
exactly.
on PC.
100%.
I'm terrible at.
Robbie, obviously it's up to you. We can skip the draft given that it's close to your bedtime. I was only going to do 3 picks this week, but I don't know if y'all even like had anything listed.
Let's do it.
Obviously, you want to do it
I'm
real
ready.
quick? We can do.
I'm ready.
Ryan, you can come up with 3 video games. So you can,
No, it's more. I'm just gonna be late for work.
We'll only do 3.
We'll do it. Are we
for
doing
work yesterday.
video game franchises or video games?
I was thinking video game singular.
Okay.
Okay.
Best of all time.
Yeah, it was just like, let's try to keep it to like games that we've actually played, because I have a few on my list that I haven't played, and I feel like I'd be kind of cheating if I did it.
Yeah.
All right.
I think you got to go off of
ass.
your games, because you can sit there and say what like people will say are the best games of all time. But I think you have to pick your personal list.
All right, Ryan.
Okay.
You're first.
I know what Robbie wants, but I don't care about the game, so I'm just not gonna pick it.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with my first pick is NFL Street.
That was on my list. Son of a.
You
It's
got
such a
to
good
get that
game.
one because you knew
It is such a
that
good game.
Connor was going to take that.
That was the decision. The other two I don't think will potentially could be taken, but NFL Street would be yoinked. One of my favorite childhood games growing up. Probably one of the best sports games that was on those generation of consoles, along with like NBA Jam and like MLB Slugfest, like the really fun animated sports games. So the whole series is great. NFL Street 2 was really good. 3 was mid.
I heard that.
Phenomenal.
Robbie.
So
NFL Street.
2.
2.
I'm gonna go off of probably the most successful video game franchise of all time, but picking what I think is specifically the best game of that streak, I'm gonna go Call of Duty Black Ops 2.
That was the pick I was debating between.
Yeah, Black
Zombies in
Ops
that.
2 is the best COD
I'm in
and just
agony.
by far the best zombies. And zombies
Uh,
is my favorite Call of Duty game mode, and the zombies in that game are by far the best zombies of any in the series.
I wasn't into COD. I've never been a huge first person
Yep.
shooter, but Black Ops 2 Zombies was the one Call of Duty that I would play with Ryan because I actually liked
Black
that one.
Ops 2 Zombies was worse than Black Ops 1 Zombies. Let's be
There's
clear.
that. There's a take.
Yeah.
Ryan,
100%.
I remember Ryan liking
Also,
Black Ops 1 Zombies. I do remember that.
Underrated zombies game is the only like non-Treyarch Call of Duty zombies that's worth a damn. Infinite Warfare zombies
Yeah, we
goes
played
ridiculously
a fuck ton
hard.
of that. Holy shit.
Yeah, we did. It was so much fun. But yeah, I'm
Um,
gonna go Call of Duty Black Ops 2.
I'm gonna
Great
go.
pick.
I'm gonna go with the widespread appeal. I'm gonna go with the fan favorite GTA 5. Is gonna be my first
Yeah,
pick of the
great
draft.
pick.
Great pick.
It's gotta be
It's a
up
great
there.
pick.
I had a homer pick. That's definitely off the beaten path for number one overall.
Yeah.
That's a great
I'm
game,
waiting
though.
I'm waiting for my homer pick to come back around because I didn't think
I
Connor
know
was
what
gonna
you're
pick it, so.
picking, Robbie.
Yeah, it's not hard to figure out.
That's why I thought you would take it number one. But then also
No,
you knew that
I knew it
wasn't
would come
gonna
back
pick it.
around.
Yeah.
I knew you were gonna pick it. I know Connor's not gonna pick it, so
I'm gonna. I'm trying to rule some out here. See, I'm a huge Batman Arkham game enthusiast, but I've only played Arkham Knight and half of Arkham Asylum, so I can't. And I've heard that like
Arkham
City's the
Asylum's-
best one, or Asylum or City's the best one. So I haven't played that fully yet, so I can't make a comment on the Arkham games. I loved Arkham Knight, but I can't pick that. I feel like. I don't know, that Ryan might pick that one. I'm gonna pick the one because I feel like Ryan might pick it. One of my favorite game series of all time, just because I like the whole premise. I'm going Assassin's Creed Black Flag,
Good pick.
the pirate edition.
good pick.
I
The
love
Those are
fucking
two really
sea
good picks.
shanties while you go and
Oh,
dip
that's
down
so
like Dutchman
fun.
ship.
Yeah.
I'm bricked up thinking about
What
it.
should
to
we
be
do with
honest.
a drunken
Good-
sailor?
good.
What should we do with
If
it?
they put on Steam like a bundle pack of all the Assassin's Creed games,
Oh.
I would go fucking bananas.
Dude, that's why I bought the
almost
Arkham games, because on Xbox they had like it was like 3 of them for like $9. It's like yes, yes, please.
Almost all of the Assassin's Creed games are a part of the second tier of PlayStation Plus memberships. By the way, like
There you go.
pretty much every single one.
That's fun.
hot. That's hot.
Robbie, back to you.
Robbie, with your second
Alright.
pick.
Right, this is gonna be shocking, because I never talk about this game ever.
Oh,
But I'm gonna go God of War 18. So the first installment of the kind of new series of God of War games, which I think most people would probably put that in their top tier of like that Xbox One, PS4 era of games.
Yeah. Mhm.
Great game, great story, start to finish. Ragnarok lived up to it, but I think it's hard to compete with the original.
Yeah.
It's one of the few games I've played through multiple times, and I've actually like 100%ed everything in the game. But
Very
if you've
nice.
never played it, definitely worth checking out.
Ryan, what do you got?
So I have, and I really love the whole series as a whole, but if I had to choose one, it would be Titanfall 2.
Oh yeah,
I love Apex. I love Titanfall. It's my favorite first person shooter in terms of, the Titanfall 2 campaign was phenomenal. The Titanfall 2 multiplayer is excellent.
that was one first person shooter multiplayer that I felt like I could actually play, because I'm not good at first person shooter games, and I was like, I can actually play this one.
And then it moved into a battle royale when all the battle royales came out. And Apex is still going really strong, and they've done really well with that.
Apex is a part of Titanfall?
Yes.
Yes.
It's the
I
same. It's
did
Titanfall
not know
2.5.
I literally
Yeah.
did not know that.
Like if you look at the guns, it's like the R301,
Interesting.
charge
Didn't know that.
rifle, Mozambique, those
They-
are all guns
they've-
in Titanfall.
They've brought back like characters that you would know from like Titanfall. Like
Yeah, no,
Ash
that's
is
cool.
like a part of Titanfall. Yeah.
Pathfinder, that's the grappling
Yep.
agent in Titanfall.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah. So what is your third?
it was
pick?
my snake pick. I just because of how much I played it and how much
Nice.
like happiness
really-
it gave me.
I really
I'm-
thought this was gonna make it back to me, and I was gonna be shocked. But I
I'm
know
taking
exactly what you're
Fortnite.
Hmm.
I'm taking Fortnite as one of the
Yeah.
best games of all
Yeah.
time.
I mean, it's hard to argue.
I
with
don't
this
think I've
peak.
ever had
fun
more-
today.
Hard to argue
Like
with this
if you
peak.
just hop on, play with some buddies, like it's obviously very different, but it's a great game.
Hard to argue.
I don't think I've ever had more fun playing a game with people than Fortnite, and like I
Yeah.
don't think it's even like relatively close.
Yeah, I see it. I see it. Robbie, what's your last pick?
I'm I'm gonna go a little bit of a throwback, another great series all around, but I'm gonna pick my favorite one of the Mario Kart series, and that being Mario Kart Double Dash.
I am
Oh, the
shocked
GameCube one.
that NCAA 14 didn't make it.
I that was
Yeah, I
that,
still
that
have a
would have been
third
my
pick.
next pick.
I still have a third.
That would have been my
This is
next
for
pick.
Robbie, not you,
Oh
headass.
yeah.
I
That's
do love
true.
NCAA 14, but
That is a good game.
Mario Kart's a classic. I feel like I get one in there, and Double Dash is my favorite one.
Throw
Yeah.
Nintendo a bone.
We have to get a Mario
Mhm.
game in there. We're gonna get
Yes,
slaughtered.
yeah.
So yeah.
I didn't pick Smash. Oh no.
So obviously I've written some down here. Just some of the biggest ones of all time. Red Dead Redemption 2. I've only played a little bit of it, but obviously that goes down as like one of the greatest games. The Last of
GTA,
Us.
You can't pick Red Dead.
No. I know. The Last of Us played both of them. And I also haven't played Last of Us. And then one of my favorite games of all time. I'm not picking this one. Fallout 4. I put so many hours into Fallout 4. I love Fallout 4. I know, and people say that Fallout New Vegas is better, and I've never played that one. So I'm just
You should play Fallout New Vegas.
I
It's
need
really
to play.
cheap.
But given the fact that people say that one's better, I'm gonna leave Fallout 4 off my list so I can try to play New Vegas. I'm a huge fan of storytelling games and a huge fan of games where choices affect the entire story. And I thought the premise of that being like the entire game, where basically you just make decisions and it plays out kind of like a movie. That's like my favorite kind of thing. So I don't know if y'all played it before, but I'm gonna take Detroit Become Human as one of my other favorite games of all time, and that's gonna be my number 3 and final selection. Absolutely love that game. I love those styles of games where the decisions are like the whole game. I love that. So yeah, that's gonna be my third and final pick. Other than NCAA 14, is there anything that no one mentioned? Any surprises that nobody mentioned?
Another one I would throw out there, Infamous. I don't know if you ever just played Infamous, but it's another one of those games, kind of where you kind of like your decisions affect the game.
Mm-hmm.
The storytelling in those is always excellent as well. It's very unique when it came out as well in terms of
Mhm.
combat, and it was an open world game as well before the like GTA 5 and Red
Yeah.
Dead came out. So that'd be another one I would throw into the ring as kind of an under the radar type of game.
Awesome. Well, I think for the we're gonna end it there. We're gonna have our 3 picks just to make the draft a little shorter because these guys have to head out. So whoever wants to can do the intro and we can finish up.
The outro?
The outro?
You fucking
Come
casual.
on.
Yeah, I meant the outro.
Rob, you got it, my guy. Please take it away.
We thank you for listening this week on another episode of the Bros and the Berg podcast. For myself and Ryan and Connor, we wish you all a very happy week, and please gamble responsibly.